If you eat more than 40 grams of protein at one sitting, you're wasting all that protein. Just kidding. That's totally false. In fact, we now have a study that shows that your body actually utilizes the amino acids from protein that you consume, even when it's a huge amount at one serving. In fact, the study used 100 grams of protein. You utilize them for muscle. Your body doesn't just take the extra protein and oxidize it or turn it into energy. In other words, you can eat a lot of protein at once, or you can eat a little bit of protein in small servings. It really doesn't make a difference. However, there are things you want to consider, and that's what we're about to talk about.
First, you have to address where that myth came from, right? So for a long time, a lot of people used to say things like, oh, you can't assimilate more than 35 grams of protein in a sitting. Therefore, if you had 60 or 70 grams, it was a waste of time. But that's not true, but there's some truth to that. Like you can't, so your body doesn't necessarily use all of it towards building muscle. Your body still uses it and gets stored as energy. So it's not like it doesn't exist. So you have to explain first where that myth originated from and why it originated, and then why this new study is such a breakthrough.
We have to back up because nobody talked about this ever until bodybuilding started to influence fitness, and people started to look to bodybuilders for how you should eat or train if you want to look a particular way. Now, bodybuilders for a long time have been consuming multiple meals a day, more than the traditional 2 or 3 that the average person will eat. And bodybuilders did this, by the way, not for any other reason other than it was hard for them to consume the amount of calories that they needed in just 2 or 3 meals. I mean, if you're a 240-pound, bodybuilder and you're eating 4,000 calories a day, I mean, yeah, you could eat 3, 1,100 calorie meals or 1,200 calorie meals or whatever, but it was probably better and it felt better to eat smaller meals throughout the day. So that's kind of where it started. Now, what happened over time is this turned into this myth that this would help you build more muscle. You have more amino acids constantly floating through the blood if you eat this way, which means your body's going to turn it more into muscle. Supplement companies jumped all over this because making a protein supplement, a bar, for example, like trying to make a protein bar with more than 35 grams of protein, you're going to have a big heavy brick of a protein bar. So they just perpetuated this myth. And then muscle magazines jumped on top of it and all that stuff. And so then, the myth was, it was always around 35 to 45 grams, which, incidentally, is about the most amount of protein you can fit in a bar or a shake before it turns into something you don't want to necessarily consume. And so then that was the whole thing. And then you heard the whole post-workout anabolic window. And so the argument was this, Adam, and there was some data that actually suggested this, which is if you consume more than a certain amount of protein at a sitting, that the excess protein, because your body will utilize so much, the excess gets oxidized or gets turned into energy, which then loosely became, associated with it's a waste of protein, which even then it was never said that way. Even then, because the study still showed you build muscle the same and all that stuff, and that didn't make a difference. But people took that and ran with it and said, if you eat more than X amount of grams of protein at one time, it's a total waste. Well, a new study came out showing that the anabolic effect, right, or let's say that the how protein gets oxidized, right, it essentially matches the amount of protein that you eat. In other words, if it's 20 grams of protein, you get this, this kind of amino acids getting assimilated for anabolic purposes, and then it kind of dips down. Well, if it's 100 grams of protein, which this study actually used, and the way they did this, by the way, it was a very complex study. I talked to Layne Norton, who's in our strong opinion, one of the foremost experts, especially on protein. This is what he...
Yeah. His whole thesis was on leucine.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's he's a very honest guy, lots of integrity, and expert on a lot of things, nutrition, but especially protein. And so he talked about the study and talked about how they tagged the protein so it was easy to track through the body. And he said this is a very well-made study, so I trust his opinion. He said, in the study, 100 grams of protein means that anabolic activity just extends longer. So it's like those amino acids are floating through the body and waiting to get
used somewhere.
Yes. Now, this also, by the way, supports the studies that show that when you have 2 equal calorie diets, but one is a high protein diet, let's say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and the other one is a lower protein, let's say RDA recommendation, which is a third of that, right? Same calories though. You would expect them to experience the same fat loss and muscle gain, but the studies actually show that the high protein group builds more muscle and loses more body fat. So what the hell is going on here? Well, originally the way it was explained was, well, the muscle building process is helping with the fat loss process. But what might actually be happening, because these are not like super long, it's not like they're like 5-year studies, right? They're typically 16-week studies or so. What's probably happening is protein is less likely than fat and carbs to be turned into something you can store. It's as if protein, by the way, this completely backs up evolutionary theory.
So your theory on that is the excess protein, say you eat this big 150 gram protein meal, and yes, only a portion of that gets prioritized right away to building muscle, and then the rest of it's kind of floating around waiting to get utilized.
Yes.
And it's more likely to wait around and get utilized for that training session that happens in say 8 to 10 hours.
Or repair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then it is to get stored as as body fat.
And this makes sense because high protein, same calorie diets tend to result in more fat loss. And they explained it away by saying the thermogenic effect of protein and the muscle building effect of protein.
I mean, okay, here's what's so crazy about this, Sal, is how much this aligns with how we've been coaching people for so long.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that, obviously, if you've listened to the show for a long time, you've heard us say, like, many times we will give this simple advice of, I don't want you to worry about anything else.
Yep.
Just hit that 1-to-1 grams of protein. And that's just from experience. We've learned that, man, if a client just dials that in and is consistent with getting that through whole foods, almost always
they see significant improvement.
The rest of the stuff kind of takes care of itself until you start getting to, trying to get next level shredded or next level performance. Then it takes some fine tuning. But for the general
first step, it's amazing.
For the general population who is just trying to get fit, just trying to build some muscle, just trying to burn some body fat, boy, is that the biggest rock.
I mean, this is huge because, and again, it's a well-made study, and it supports evolutionary theory, okay? In nature, like we don't have farms, we don't have agriculture, we don't have grocery stores, like we're just hunter-gatherers, okay? Do you know what's hard to come by?
Lots of protein.
Protein.
Yeah. And
protein.
when you do, it comes at 500 pounds at once.
Yes. Yeah. So your body is like, okay, we want to use this protein for what it's most valuable for, which is repair and rebuild. Now, that's not to say that your body can't turn excess protein into body fat if your calories are above what you burn, because it can do that. But it's less likely to turn excess calories from protein into fat than carbs or fats. Yeah. Which is wild. This is amazing.
Because I've always heard that it's like a slower process to convert it to energy. Is that So
turning protein into through gluconeogenesis is kind of a lengthy process.
Real lengthy.
Yeah.
I wonder, did they do any kind of length in terms of like how long they anticipate it's just kind of roaming free?
Well, I would imagine, Justin, and this, again, we're just talking out loud here, it really depends on
the health
what
of the
demand, the health of the person, the demand you put on the body.
That's right.
So let's say you eat all this excess protein and you just chill. You don't do anything high demand and rest till your workout the next day.
Correct.
Good chances are a lot of that protein is going to be hanging around.
You don't work out at all.
Yeah, it's going to get prioritized to lift to that belt versus that same person goes for a hard run for an hour and a half. Well, then the body's going to be like, we need something, and I would imagine that it would prioritize that to energy.
Well, in fact, in the study, that's what they did. They actually had the people work out really hard, and then they did the protein consumption. So it was post-workout.
Yeah.
So it could be connected to that recovery process as well, where you eat a large bolus of protein while your body's trying to recover and adapt and build. Then the length of time at which those amino acids get used for rebuilding is directly connected to the amount of protein that you just consumed. In other words, it just stays that way longer. Now, what's cool about this is, okay, what have we always said on the show about people who, should eat small amounts of protein throughout the day or one big serving or whatever? We always said it was splitting hairs. It makes no difference when it comes to building muscle. And that seems to be true. Now, here's the caveat before everybody gets excited and goes and decides to do some weird, I'm going to eat all my protein at one time.
Digestion.
Digestion is the issue. In fact, the number one thing you should consider with your diet Of course, you want to make sure you have the adequate nutrients and macros and all that stuff. But what you need to consider is your digestion. That's the most important thing. Because if I'm eating 200 grams of protein for me, which would be considered for me optimal for muscle building, fat loss, strength, etc., if I eat 2 100-gram protein meals, I wouldn't feel very good. That much protein in one meal, first off, I probably would be force feeding myself. It produces so much satiety. Once I got to 50, 60, 70 grams, I'm like, oh, this is really rough. So the smaller frequent feedings, just the more protein you consume, it just tends to make more sense.
You know what's interesting about that, Sal? There's a difference in what I'm eating where that really matters. For example, I can eat a pound of meat.
So can I.
And
I can do the same.
I will actually be fine. So I can eat, what's that, 80 to 100 grams of protein in meat. But if I take in 100 grams of cheese, any sort of dairy or a protein shake, I'm on the toilet right afterwards. It feels like it goes right through me. And in fact, if I'm eating that much protein in one sitting, that is like easy, which is ironic, right? Easy digestible, fast digesting type of food. I feel like it goes in and out right. But if I had something like, say, meat and rice or something like that, I can get away with that.
Digestion is what you got to always consider.
So that it does matter. Obviously there's something going on there, and I have to assume that for ultimately building muscle, I'm getting more benefits from that 1 pound of steak than I would be 100 grams of a protein shake.
What have we always said on the show? What do you need to consider most? What's sustainable? What fits your lifestyle? What makes you feel the best? Because the rest of it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter whether you eat the protein in 10 small servings or 3 larger servings.
It's not going to stick otherwise.
Yeah.
No,
it's not going to last.
You had a great talk with Layne today on our story about this study. And, he's like, I don't really, and I think we agree too. I don't really think that, this study is a landmark study. He said, this is incredible. You were excited about it too. But what most of us have kind of already figured out, it wouldn't change much of how we're eating. He said, except for 2 things that I thought were interesting. One, he goes, I would probably back out some of my hypothesis on fasting. So I thought that was interesting that he admitted that maybe he would be less negative, I guess, about it. And then the other thing he said was, I could see now some added benefits to having like a real large protein meal at night right before bed.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, that and maybe something that I would consider differently.
Again, if it affects your digestion poorly though, then no. Like I could not see Justin eating a massive protein meal an hour before bed, right? Because that tends to mess up your.
Well, maybe if it's got cheese on it.
Depends. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to. I think with the meat, I'd be better off for sure. But yeah, definitely not like any heavy carb or dairy based.
Listen, this just shows how valuable, especially animal protein, because that's the densest, most nutrient dense in terms of protein, source of protein to find, high quality amino acid profile, the whole deal. It just goes to show you how much value our bodies through evolution have placed on protein. That's how valuable it is, that your body is like, hey, if we have to turn this into energy, we will, but boy, we need this for repair and rebuild. Protein in the hunter-gatherer world was gold.
Yes,
you know what it meant?
Goose.
It meant you took massive risks and you just hunted and risked your life and killed an extremely nutrient-dense source of food and energy, which is an animal. So yeah, that's how we evolved, and it prioritized it.
It makes me feel like too that we most likely actually probably gorged a bit after that.
That's why when people would say, no, you build more muscle if you eat the same amount of protein throughout the day. And I said, that doesn't make sense evolutionarily. Why would that even, why would we even evolve that way?
No, that's what I'm saying. You would eat as much as you could.
You kill an animal, it's like, we're going to eat it until we can, until we're full, and then we'll eat some more.
Then you would ration out the rest. That's how I feel.
And what are you going to, how are you going to store it? This food's going to go bad.
Yeah.
They're not looking at waste. They're not looking at elk and going like, well, I'm going to, meal prep for the next.
That's interesting to think about, like having a really big protein feast and then actually going on maybe a 2-3 day fast or something like that.
Oh, wow. Well, even extended like that. That's interesting.
Right? That might be an interesting experiment.
That is interesting. That's cool. So another study, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about this, but here's what I really like Layne because He has a lot of integrity, and he'll say, and he literally said in the talk,
Twice he said he'd back
he said,
up.
I'm going to back up some of my hypothesis, and this might have shown a few things that I thought might be true or not so true. He said something else that was interesting. He personally conducted a study with mice where he compared frequent feedings of protein to less frequent feedings over the course of 8 weeks to see if there was a difference. So everything was controlled, right? Is there a difference in muscle mass gain? And the frequent feeding of the mice showed a slight increase in muscle. And that's where his hypothesis was fasting, even if all things being equal, will build less muscle. And he said to me, we're splitting hairs with that. He goes, because 8 weeks with a mouse study, he goes, a mouse is, the lifespan of a mouse
like
is
40,
so short.
40 years for us.
It would be like 10 years for a human for you to notice any difference. So he's like, it's totally splitting hairs. And again, it goes back to what we learned as trainers. Like, I don't even care if it's 5% better. If you feel better the other way and it's more sustainable, that's the right answer.
Sure.
But this study does show it doesn't matter. There's another study that came out that's been flying. It was a twin study. These are cool studies because twin studies are difficult to come by.
I think I saw this.
And yeah, what's cool about them is in a large part you controlled the subjects, right? You got the same, although epigenetics has kind of shown that
So
that's
your
not
most
100%.
ideal controls, right?
Was this the one where they did one on vegan and then one? Yeah, okay, I did.
So
see
they had one group of twins. So they had, I don't remember how many sets of twins, but it was like 20 something sets. One twin omnivore diet, one twin vegan diet. And here's what they found. The vegan diet twin had improved blood markers. Okay, so better LDL, and there was a couple other blood markers that were improved. And so everybody was like, yay, here's the evidence that that the vegan diet was better. Well, Layne went in, broke it down and said, okay, the vegan diet was 200 calories lower than the omnivore diet. Now, a lower calorie diet is going to improve blood markers more than a higher calorie diet, okay? The second factor was the vegan diet, people ate much less saturated fat, more polyunsaturated fat, which we know will affect your LDL. So Layne's like expected. These results are expected. If they were fatty acid profiles were similar, if the calories were similar, you wouldn't see this, whatever. Also, what they don't include in the media or headline reports is they asked the twins that did the vegan diet, did you enjoy this diet? And this is a diet that you want to continue. And they all said no.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This sucks. I don't like the way I feel or whatever.
Forget about it.
I'm not going to do it, which, that's important. Like, that's super important. You got to pay attention
real life.
to. Yeah. Like, I don't care.
Lab experiments.
Yeah. I could give you the most effective anything. But if you hate it and you won't do it, it doesn't matter.
I really feel like Layne's value to our community in the next decade is going to be more important than it's ever been, because I think of the effort towards pushing the agenda of fake meat and not eating meat is going to go so hard in that direction that we're going to continue to see studies like this that are presented in a way that can easily be manipulated or misunderstood on that this is a better way of eating. So having someone, what he's doing right now, I mean, I've always thought it's helpful for people that are trying to figure what's true, what's not. But boy, is he going to be important.
You guys familiar? You just reminded me. I probably brought this up a long time ago. I haven't talked about it for a while though. Are you guys familiar with Dr. Weston A. Price?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tooth guy.
Yeah.
Right. So have you seen? So dentist, right?
Yeah.
So have you seen? So what Dr. Weston Price did is he traveled all around the world and he examined people's teeth, and he had theories on whether or not diet would affect structure and health of teeth. And so he wanted to look at how people are eating, how are their teeth, how's the teeth alignment, are they strong, do they have cavities, etc. And he kept finding in these, these
carnivore based,
rural areas,
these groups of people that ate like hunter gatherers, so they didn't have access to dental care, toothbrushes, toothpaste, floss, braces. They all had very straight, healthy teeth, like no crooked teeth, no need for braces, no need all the teeth looked perfect. Everybody's wisdom teeth fit.
I was going to say, yeah.
And nobody had cavities. And so he started looking at the diets, and the Weston Price was one of the first people to advocate for consumption of raw milk and meat and organ meats and that kind of stuff. Now that you hear all these like,
and of
ancestral
course
diet
it got
people.
it got dismissed because he's a dentist and he's not a nutritionist or a doc, right?
I mean, what he said is but now a lot of what he said has been proven totally true.
I know, but that's part of the reason why it's not as widely accepted as it should be, is because it's like that people are quick to, he's not a nutritionist. How could he tell us how to eat? Yeah, no.
You ever read the reports of the old world explorers when they came to the New World, right? So you got people from Europe, they had agriculture, they were growing and they were surviving off a lot of grain and stuff like that. When they came to the quote unquote New World, the reports on the natives, like they're tall, they all have straight white teeth. They all, and it's because they were still eating that hunter-gatherer diet.
Oh, interesting.
And Europeans, although they had superior technology, and of course they brought crazy viruses and stuff with them, they were all shorter and had really messed up.
Even just working through the meat and, bone and like tissue and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that amount of exercise that your jaw and your masters and all these muscles in your face, like it makes room for those wisdom teeth to come in nicely. And it's like, we don't have enough room because of our diet.
This blew me away. So I, with my kids, right, I have 2 older kids and 2 younger kids, and my daughter, she had to wear braces and she still has them on, right? And and by this point, I've already kind of understood like what's happening, and I'm learning more about how your diet affects how your mouth grows and shapes and how your teeth space and, braces, and are your teeth crooked? Well, it's probably related to diet and all that stuff.
I would imagine apnea is part of that too.
So obviously your mouth, your palate is moldable, and anybody who denies this, that's what braces are. When a kid wears braces, oftentimes they'll even have to add like things that stretch out the jaw to make room and space.
Bands that change your bite.
So if you're a little kid and you're eating you're not like chewing on hard things and meat and stuff like that, your teeth will form and shape to the way you're eating. And oftentimes these misaligned teeth and stuff like this is due and result of that. That's why it's not widely accepted by modern medicine, but there's a lot of crazy data. Today's giveaway is MAPS Anabolic Advanced. Here's how you can win it. Leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comments section. Also, 2 days left for our December sale. MAPS Old Time Strength, 50% off. MAPS Obstacle Course Racing, 50% off. If you're interested in either one, just click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show.
Speaking of kids, did you see Organifi's new product?
Oh, I did.
Pretty cool, huh?
I did.
I'm actually really,
We have a bag somewhere.
Have you tried it yet? Yeah, I tried to get my kids.
So
we haven't tried it yet, but
it's Easy Greens.
Okay, so
sounds like it's like apple juice.
So explain to me do you know what's different between the regular greens? Because we would always just kind of give Max some of ours, and should I not have been doing that?
This doesn't have ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is an adaptogen. Not sure about whether or not it's a good idea to consistently give a kid ashwagandha. So I can't comment on that. But because ashwagandha is an adaptogenic and has some real effects, I would assume it's probably, unless it's like recommended by a.
So my guess is that it's a lower, I don't want to say watered down, like this, make it sound like it's less.
It's more appropriate, right, for children, and it doesn't have herbs in it that are adaptogenic. It's literally, I'll read the ingredients.
And it probably, I'm assuming, tastes better to get the kids to probably like it.
There's a prebiotic powder made from acacia, which helps feed healthy bacteria. Coconut powder, which is for the electrolytes. Lemon powder, carrot powder. Then there's spinach, moringa, chlorella, red beet, broccoli, and then they put in digestive enzymes, and there's also a little bit of bacillus, which is a probiotic.
So I'm super excited.
So this is like a good gut health supplement.
I'm super excited to introduce this to Max and see, because that's always a challenge, right? So he's a great eater. He'll eat most everything on his plate. If there's anything that I'm challenged with getting him to eat more consistently, it's vegetables. So if I could introduce a greens drink like this that he'll like, which he drank the adult version, and if they made this,
it tastes so good.
Yeah, well, I think this is supposed to be even tastier.
I
don't know if it was Doug or Jerry or who was saying it to me. It says it's supposed to taste like apple juice. Is that what I heard?
Apple juice.
Wow.
So I'm sure it's if it tastes really good like that, I'm sure Max is gonna like it. So I can't wait to to see his response to it. But smart, dude. I'm
Feeding
so
kids like a really healthy, balanced diet is so hard.
I know.
It's hard because kids just don't eat what they don't want to eat. So it's like,
you know what I think though? I mean, I don't know. It's so hard because I can only speak experience from one kid, right? So I mean, maybe I just got lucky in a lot of ways. But I think a lot of times that the biggest challenge is actually the parents, is ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to, if your kid doesn't want to eat, to be like, okay, well, then you're not eating. I mean, that sounds so cruel. It sounds so bad. Like you feel, I think a lot of times as parents, I think we feel like we need to conform
accommodate.
Accommodate them when it's like, this is what we have to eat. If you're hungry, this is what we eat. And
you'll be hungry enough.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually they will get hungry enough that, you know, that food will taste good. And you know this from experience as an adult. How many times have you ever been really, really hungry and then someone gives you something that would be normally bland and boring, and then you're like, oh my God, this tastes so good? It's because you were hungry.
Well, the other challenge is to help them, because this was later I kind of started learning this. I don't remember, who was it I was listening to, and they said one of the biggest hurdles, and Jessica really introduced this to me, and she's like, this is something we need to consider, that one of the biggest, most important things you teach your kids in the modern world is, you know, what's healthy, what's not healthy, but also having a good relationship with food, because we live in a world where everything's so accessible and tasty at some point. And I know that, look, I have family members who grew up in, like, I have an uncle who was very strict with diet with his kids, very strict. As soon as those kids came out of the house, it was like,
He was a gangbuster.
yeah, you know? So it's like you have to juggle so many different things. And then the knowledge of it, a lot of people don't even know what's healthy necessarily for them versus their kids.
I mean, I felt like the way I always, and I know my family gave me a lot of shit early on. I think they now obviously they see it because they see how well it worked. When he was at an age when he couldn't communicate, he didn't know the difference of food. He only knew what I gave him. I was ridiculously strict. It wasn't until he got to an age when he started to recognize what is
he
candy.
didn't know to even ask.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think where a lot of people mess up is, I think we all think it's so cool and neat to see the look on a kid's face when they lick ice cream.
Yeah.
And we all think it's so funny, but then you've now opened you've now opened that door, and now they're going to seek it. Where I remember the first couple Halloweens, Max played with his candy because he thought they were toys. He didn't know it was candy because he didn't know any better. Now he has a relationship with it where we can, like Katrina the other night, she just baked cookies. And he didn't even ask for it. I said, Matt, you want to have a cookie with Dad? And I bite half of it, and then he takes a bite of it, and then I eat the rest of it. And it's like, that was it.
Yeah, no.
There's no, it's just,
you know what's hard? You know what's really hard?
We share Zevias.
You know what? Here's a good point. Like, start it out right out the gates, because then it gets real hard to change directions. That's why I think where a lot of parents struggle.
Yes.
Like, oh, my kid's 7 now. How do I change directions?
Okay, that's where.
Oh, now you're going to have.
I was interviewed on a podcast where we talked about this, and that was my advice to parents that are starting with their kid is to kind of emulate similar to what I think we did. I said, it's a whole nother ball game when you've already opened that. Now that's where I have a lot of empathy, because boy, is that hard, because they're children. And they're still trying to understand their own emotions. And
where's the chips? We always eat chips.
Yeah, and then you've trained them for 7 years of their life that this is normal behavior, and now all of a sudden you've decided no. Like, they're not programmed yet to handle that very well. And so that's going to be a challenge. That's why I think it's so crucial that in those early years that you as the parent discipline yourself to not give in to that temptation to want to see the look on their face when they lick ice cream at 1, or don't do that.
See, I do that, but with other foods like lemon. You ever give a little kid lemon? Like, squirt it in the mouth and watch the look on the face. It's so great.
That's messed up.
No, it's not. It's just lemon.
Hilarious.
It's not hot pepper,
Yeah.
I do that to my daughter.
They're all like excited. They think it's sweet.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah.
So I got a new behavior I'm trying to correct. Literally just happened last night. Well, it happened for me for the first time last night. Obviously, it had happened before because Katrina told me what was going on. And I don't know what he wanted. He wanted to do something, and Katrina's, no, we have to do this first, or we have to eat dinner first. And he took off, and I hear the door close in the back, like our guest room downstairs over there, where his toys are all at and all that stuff like that. And I said, where Max go? She goes, oh, this is what he does now. And I'm like, what do you mean? if he doesn't get his way, he'll go and he'll go pretend to pout and cry. And I said, what? I said, oh, we're not having that. So I got up, walked over there, and first of all, the door was locked. I was like,
whoa, he locked the door?
Yeah, I didn't even know the locked door. I said, Maximus. And luckily, it's like one of those easy ones to pick, right? So I picked it. I go in there. He's not only is he in that, he went in that room, and then we have a toy closet where all his toys are. He's inside the toy closet, and I open the door, and he's laying face down, pretending to pout like that. And I said, Maximus,
cute.
get up, come here, come here. And he walks over to me, and he's like not making eye. I said, look at Daddy in the eyes, look at me, and he's like, no, doing this. I said, that we don't act this way when you don't get your way. You're not going to come over here and cry and pout because mommy told you need to do, I don't remember what it was. First, you have to listen to your mom, and this is not going to get your way. In fact, if you do this, you're going to get less of whatever it was you wanted to do. I don't even remember. And I said, I'm not crying. I'm just resting. He tells me he's just resting. I'm like, yes, you are. I said, get out here. Come on. Let's go do what your mom said, right?
Give him a hug.
But no, he was fine. Like he wasn't even crying. He was pretending to pout. But here's what I'm learning about my son, right? So I've got this amazing child that I've talked about on just an absolute sweetheart. He doesn't throw tantrums.
Such a love bug.
And he's a love bug. But guess what? What's the drawback of that? So he's learned to use that, right? Yeah. He's learned to play the heart because he's such a sweet boy. He's so hard to get upset at because he's so good. So he's now when he doesn't get his way of leaning into that, he doesn't throw tantrum, he doesn't throw things, he doesn't get pissed into that. What he does is you get sad, and like you broke his heart, same deal. And so it's like, no. So you don't get to do that. So, but that was the first time I ever seen that. That was last night that happened for the first time. And Katrina's like, yeah, it's his new move right now.
Manipulation there.
Oh, totally. It was definitely another. Dad's like not having that either.
Aurelius has been telling me lately, I want to be just like Papa when I grow up. I'm like, oh man, my heart, when you hear that from your kid, I want to be just like you. And then he goes, I want to be stronger than you. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Ethan right now is on the bulk.
Training. Is he really?
Oh yeah. He's realizing too, he's going to be going into high school. And he's like, man, like he's going through a bit of a growth spurt, but he's still kind of lean. And I mean, he's athletic and been doing his gymnastic thing, but like, I'm like, yeah, he's really asking me every day, like, how can I get more protein? How can what are some good ways of doing that? How can I, eat more? Like, this is hard, Dad. I'm like, I know, like it's work.
Does he start out with a big breakfast?
Yeah. So and Courtney's like on board and really trying to help both kids. And of course, Everett's like, the little shadow that just wants to like, oh, is he doing that? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it.
Hey, how much milk do you guys go through, by the way, in your house? Because you guys
gallons.
I was going to say.
Gallons. Yeah. Everybody drink. Well, me, not so much anymore, but I mean, I was on that train, but yeah, both boys drink a lot. And yeah, it's at that point now where, because Courtney's like doing the math and even herself realized how under, protein she was in terms of like just all over the years. She was like, I'm really trying to seek like 1 gram per body weight. Like, and that was like just baffling for her. And I'm like yeah, well, it's really not easy. And if you like start like doing the math and like look at what you're actually consuming, like I guarantee you're not even hitting half that.
Yeah. Dude, clients used to be like, do you eat a lot of protein? Oh yeah, I have protein. I had protein, a good amount of protein. For what would you have? Yeah. I had a hard-boiled egg. Something like that. It was like 6 grams.
Yeah, I had an egg sandwich for breakfast. I had a turkey sandwich for lunch, and then I had chicken for dinner.
And you're like, bacon,
oh, cool, you had a total of 45 grams of protein today. You're barely living. So,
exactly.
No, it was interesting to watch. That was such a cool thing to. I mean, I still remember like yesterday when that transition happened for Katrina because it was midway through our relationship. Right, we've been together for 13 years, and it was about year 6 when. The first time I ever so we were together over 6 years before I got a hold of her diet or training or anything. And the only way I know I won her over was because she got to watch me transitioning competing. And she was so blown away by how fast I could manipulate my body. And she's just like,
what do you do?
Well, see, that's what I'm not doing. Maybe I'm not going to do that. There's no way.
You want to get on stage?
But yeah, this is the first time I got her to buy in a bit on the nutrition side. The training took a long time. I took her from cardio kickboxing to now doing, MAPS and like sticking with strength training exclusively, done wonders for her body. But like, yeah, it's the protein that's just like, what?
Yeah. That's it's trained. Katrina, once I got the shift and showed her, it blew her mind so much that I'd love to see her. She's getting back on, she's coming off being sick. And so she's getting back into the consistent lifting again. And I love to see it because she knows that's like box one to check is got to get my protein up. She knows that like, you've got to do that, and then it's in the lifting, and then they have to correspond with each other, right? I think that's another thing that we make this mistake is that you get gung ho about the working out, and you train really hard, and you're missing protein. It's like, man, you're just spinning your wheels at that point. It's like you're sending the signal to build muscle, and you're not giving it any
the building blocks.
Yeah, you're not giving any building blocks. So it's like, and I've tried to explain that to her. I'm like, that's the thing that I've learned over all these years is to learn to work with what I'm also feeding my body, like. Man, if you see me getting after it, that means I've been stringing consistency around the nutrition. If you see me training like really hard in the gym, you know that, Adam's on his diet. Like I've been, otherwise I'm like, that's so silly to push the body that hard and then to be way under consuming. Yeah. It's so dumb because then you're going to get super sore. You're going to be sorer than you are longer. I mean, you're not going to build all the muscle you would want to build.
Even your performance is limited. Yeah.
Yes.
To be clear, if you train appropriately and you're not eating like below what you need for protein, you're going to get stronger, you're going to build muscle, but you could literally add 50% of speed and results to that by simply consuming more protein.
Your
body will adapt.
But nobody does what you just said though. Nobody trains appropriately and nobody eats appropriately. Right. Everybody overtrains and under eats protein.
Right. Yep. And so it's a double whammy.
So it's a double whammy. Yeah, it's like you'd be better off at least fixing one of those two problems. Either if you're going to overtrain, at least do the protein right, and if you're gonna undertrain, then at least hit that. So it's like pick one and solve it. But most people miss on both. By the way,
I think whammy didn't that come from that game show, Doug? Wasn't that a game show that
whammy?
I'm not sure.
It's also from Anchorman.
Anchorman. Yeah.
Oh, look up the origin of whammy. There was a game.
Well, there is a game show called
where they'd hit a button and then those little red like devil guys would come out.
In fact, Anchorman.
He stole from that.
Might have got it from that. Like that might be where it came from.
Yeah. What's the origin of that, Doug?
The first example of whammy in print occurred in 1940.
Yeah.
Popularized by the cartoonist Al Cap in the comic strip Lil Abner. So I don't know.
Okay. And that's the game, whammy. Press your luck. That's what I watched when I would be home sick from school.
And for sure, because Anchorman's supposed to take place in like the 60s, right? Or something like that.
70s?
Yeah, 60s or 70s. So obviously he's paying homage to that, I imagine.
Yeah, right now Jessica's on fire with her training, like on fire. And I remember this with Aurelius too. It's like right around the year mark postpartum, like everything starts to like
because they could get a breather finally.
Yeah, dude, exactly. There's that, the body regulates or whatever. So she's like, it's crazy to watch her just because she's been working out the whole time and just making little progress here and there. And all of a sudden it's like big jumps in progress each time she's working out. So this will be fun.
Yeah. I mean, she's got those great muscle building genetics, right?
Oh God.
She's got the ones that like,
when I first started dating her, she used to train on the silks. This is like, she learned this by traveling with the circus. She would climb the silks with just her arms and her legs out, just boop, 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 like a little monkey, just climbing up super fast. Like, holy cow. That's ridiculous. That's where my little one's got the Dahlia. Yesterday, I took her to a doctor's appointment. And right now she's going through right around the year mark. I think I experienced this with Aurelius too. They start to get that like that separation anxiety or stranger danger, whatever. And so she doesn't want anybody touching her if she doesn't know them, right? Yeah. And so we go to the office. She's already associating the office with whatever. So she's already anxious. She's clinging on to me. So the whole time I have to have her on me while the practitioner is doing stuff with her. And she's not doing anything that's hurting her, but she's like crying. And I cannot not get affected by that. Like while I'm doing, and it's not like she got a shot or anything, right? Like, they're just,
but you just feel her energy
because she's looking at me, and I know she's thinking like, "Are you going to save me, Dad?" And I'm like, "No."
I know. I told you that time we went to the ER and they couldn't get an IV started on Everett, and then Courtney, we were just sitting there just dying inside.
I bet Courtney was totally.
She was dying.
Let me do it.
She did. So she stepped in and did it first try. and got it.
On your own kid.
Yeah, on our own. And I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you for doing that, because I was literally dying. Like, I was like, I can't.
Don't you get the feeling, because you know that the nurse and the doctor, like, they don't mean any harm, right?
No, you
but because your kid's crying and they're still doing something to your kid and it's not working, I start to feel anger towards the. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you can't help.
You better get this in. I'm gonna throw you out the window.
That's the natural feeling of guilt that you have, because you're allowing somebody else to make the kid feel that way, and that your job is to protect them, right? And so it feels like you're not.
Yeah,
dude.
Like so like I'm gonna beat you up. You got one more try.
I mean, I'm really lucky that Katrina really handled a lot of the doctor appointments and also the taking Max to school, because those two things, like, I'm definitely, like, as much of a hard ass as I am, I'm soft as fuck in those two. Those two areas.
Hard shell, but that shit is.
Yeah. Like, I mean, look at my son pouting last night. I'm a hard ass. Right, Come here.
Right.
You look at me in the eyes. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can be that guy. But then.
But you were dropping.
But then, yeah.
If you go to school and he's like,
take him to school. Daddy, I don't want to go to school. You know, I'm like, all right, we can go home.
I don't want you to either, dude.
Isn't that weird though?
You get the day off.
It's weird how there's certain things like that where, you know, that'll hit my heartstrings just right, and I am a total softie
you
about
just
it.
wait. Well, let's see. With my daughters, it's even worse. Like my 14-year-old, she's 14 now. I can't believe it. You know, if she says some boy said something to her and it hurt her feelings, like I picked her up one day.
You're just looking for him.
I picked her up one day, and
how do you not want to just show up to school with your shirt off like the next day? Just
dude,
where's Timmy at?
Hey, listen, you know what thought goes through my head?
Yeah.
What thought goes through my head is, obviously I can't go and frighten and bully a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old kid, right? So my thought is, I'm going to find his dad. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to find his dad, and then he'll tell him, hey, this guy came and terrified me. Speaking of shirts off, by the way, how did I get elected?
Wait, hold on.
I have a question for you, right? Okay, so let's just do a hypothetical here. Like, your daughter brings a guy home, boyfriend potentially.
Right.
His name's Taco. What's your feelings about that?
Oh, my God, bro.
What?
I have to know. My son
Is
told
that his
me,
real name?
Yeah, there's this kid that's like in school with him. His name's Taco.
That's a real name?
Yeah.
Or is that a nickname?
He's a white kid, blonde hair. His name's Taco.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so
his parents love tacos.
I was like, it's like the whole Apple thing for me. It's like, remember when celebrities lost their mind?
Dude, they still are like that. Celebrities always name their kids some weird ass thing.
But that was a new one for me. I was just like, I love tacos.
You know what that makes me think immediately? That makes me think immediately that
they love tacos.
Well, no, more.
That's what I think.
It's almost like, you know, like they ate tacos, then they had sex, and then
that's not what I think.
Like,
I think there's like a husband and wife, and they're talking. They're like, hey, you know, they're throwing around names. Like, you know what? Like, you love tacos. I love tacos.
Right. What kind of stoners are they? That's like such a.
I mean, they probably are.
Your sister Chalupa.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Taco. That's an interesting.
And I think,
my sister Burrito.
Super famous and rich people can get away with it because they know their kid's not going to. They know their kid by default, because of the rich kid in school, is not going to get bullied like the rest of the kids are. So that's the only reason why they can get away with that bullshit.
Bro,
every normal fucking person doesn't name their kid that because
like,
they don't want
I
their
didn't
kid to get beat
believe him.
up.
I was exactly, because I'm like, you got to be like somebody to do something outrageous like that, right?
Okay, the craziest name that I ever
He's
saw.
blonde hair, blue eye too.
Yeah, he's not even.
That's what I thought for a second. Maybe it was
funnier.
spelled differently. It's an ethnic name or something like that. But
Maybe they're like Pabst Blue Ribbon drinkers and they're super ironic. You know what I mean? They're just like the hipsters. And they're like,
maybe they are. Maybe they are wealthy. Adam, maybe it's your theory. Maybe they are wealthy, and they're like, how are we going to raise this kid with hardships?
Some humility.
Yeah.
How are we going to get him some humility?
We're going to fuck his name stupid.
He's going to have everything, so we may as well fuck his name up.
He's got to have some kind of adversity.
Name him hetero.
I knew a kid. I knew a kid who was their parents. It's a girl. Her parents conceived them in Vegas after they won a bunch of money. So the name of the girl was Guess-A-Money.
No.
Swear to God.
Guess-A-Money?
Guess-A-Money?
Guess-A-Money. So it's like Gesom.
So it looks like Gethsemane or something.
But the name is literally Guess-A-Money. And that's the story, that my parents went to Vegas, won a bunch of money, conceived me.
That's so funny.
I'm going to get a message.
I just, you know, one of my favorite.
They hear it because they know who they are.
One of my favorite.
Exactly.
One of my favorite
only
Christmas
so many tacos
movies
in this area.
is Four Christmases, and
so good.
That's the one where all the brothers are named after where they were conceived. Denver. Don't you remember? Yeah, don't you remember that?
That's so awkward for the kid.
You know where your parents had sex?
Yes, yeah. Whatever.
Did you guys ever hear? You guys ever hear
Hey,
that?
Santa Fe.
You guys ever hear that when you were kids?
Good times.
You ever hear your parents have sex when you were kids? Did it ever happen to you?
Oh, yeah, terrible.
yeah.
Like traumatic,
Every
dude.
kid's
Why
been
you
scarred
bring
by
that
it.
up, dude? Like,
Now, did you know when you
Still
heard
fresh.
it, or was it later when you got older? You're like, oh my god, that's what was happening.
yeah, like I kind of knew, but I didn't know until later on. But like, it's one of those things where, I mean, my dad built this house. You could hear like the walls were just too thin for one, and they were upstairs, and they would always go to bed early when they did it, you know. And
Yeah.
me and my brother kind of caught on to this and locked the door. Don't try and open the door. Like my dad was like really like adamant. I'm like, okay, whoa, guy, you know, we're just gonna be downstairs watching a TV, you know. And one time I just went up because I think I forgot something. I just opened the door.
No, you did.
Oh,
You
no.
walked in.
Oh no.
Oh, just not far in, but I heard things.
Oh, you didn't
and
see anything.
beelined
Bolted.
it out of there.
I mean, bro, from 4th grade to 7th grade, I lived in a converted double wide trailer to a home, right? So it was like a double wide trailer that had a living room
Oh,
built
bro, you
onto
hear
it.
someone breathing. That's
Yeah, bro. So yeah,
Bro.
it was fucking terrible,
Did-
dude.
didn't
So
I-
torture.
I told you guys that when we threw that event up in not Truckee. Yeah, it was up near Truckee where we were up in Tahoe, and Courtney was up there and she was telling the story, and Ethan.
That was with Katrina's mom and everybody.
Yeah, and they were all
yeah.
kind of together, and then he just started kind of describing like, yeah, but sometimes
Dude, he's talking about like the night
that night he'd get woken up and like he'd be scared, you know, because he'd hear
thumping
like
sound.
monster noises and thumping noises.
like explain the noises.
Yeah, he was describing Courtney. I'll never forget that because Katrina had told me like how embarrassing it was for Courtney. She said Courtney's on dinner and her face is
face
just turning
is
red
just
because
bright red,
we're like
dude.
he's like describing like there's this like and you hear this scary moaning noise. He's like he's so describing it in detail.
It's just weird,
and he's so young, it's innocent, so he has no idea what's going on.
And everybody's kind of laughing, and so he, like people are encouraging. Like he's
So
like,
he
"Oh
just
yeah,
keeps-
this story's going great," you know. So he just like leans into it. And he's like, "Yeah, it was really like loud."
Oh,
Like, oh my god, he's gonna remember that.
no,
later on.
I never heard my parents, but I would wake up because I would hear I would hear them take a shower in the middle of the night, and I didn't know what that was. Like I would remember thinking like, why are they taking a shower right now? That's really weird.
I always feel like that's a dead.
Then when I
giveaway.
got older, I was like, oh fuck.
I always feel like that's a
That's
dead giveaway
why
when
they
someone
think-
stays at my house and I'm like upstairs and I'm just like it's 2 a.m. I'm getting up to shower and we're running the water, so like everybody in the house has to know right
Whatever.
now.
You might as well announce it.
Yeah.
Send a text.
It's my house. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit.
You know, no. Hilarious. Anyway, speaking of shirts off, how did I get nominated? So explain this meeting I didn't attend where you guys got to vote me as the
Katrina
guy.
came in and obviously she manages all the partners and it's the end of the year right now, so all the partners talk about the things that they want from us for
Who
next
sends
year.
the most selfies? Shirtless?
And we agree to some things we don't agree to. Katrina,
fine.
many times negotiating deals, will agree to some stuff that maybe we're not excited about. And she announced that Juve wants all these half-naked photos of us in front of the red light, and you were the one who didn't make the meeting. So we
So I got the short straw.
So we
Yeah.
volunteered you and your hairy nipples.
Did you guys all vote on it?
Yeah.
It what happened?
Yeah, it was,
You-
It was a
unanimous?
nice
it
red
was just,
glow.
It was just clear. We did like a real quick, not it. And you were the
Not
only one that
it.
didn't get to say not it.
Come on.
Easy as that.
I don't want to do a commercial like that. It's so
Yeah,
weird and
yeah.
awkward.
It's just it's for our partners. you
Yeah.
know,
so
it's-
awkward.
You look the
You get to-
sexiest right now too,
yeah.
so it's you have to
All right.
represent
Show
the,
off
you have to
all them-
represent the,
you sold me, Adam.
all them gains.
You just had to tell me how sexy I was.
The whole reason why I
That's
asked
all I
is
wanted to
to
hear.
hear that.
That's exactly.
This is so weird. Why did you guys
searching
choose
for
me?
compliments? I know that fishing right there. Fishing.
Tell me why.
There was-
Why?
Because I
Why
look like-
me? Of all of us, I mean, anybody could have done
Remember,
it.
Justin said I looked like a trophy that one time, so I thought.
the golden one, dude.
Hey, so
I am getting okay. So just to admit, I like to admit when you're right about certain things. I like to give you your credit when you deserve it. The matte black Cybertruck's kind of grown on me a little bit. Yeah.
What?
Kind of.
Are you going to be an
Not a
asshole and
lot.
get it before me?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
That's some
too.
shit you would do, bro. Fucking
Roll up in
Adam.
the matte black Cybertruck, motherfucker.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we can do copy.
Why would you? Did you see one, or you
I've just
looking
been seeing. They're starting to pop up, right? Not in. I haven't seen one in person.
Yeah, I wonder what.
But I really do not like the silver refrigerator one. It looks like and it gets all smudgy looking. It does. I don't think it looks good at all. I don't like. I've never liked when people do those wraps that are chrome looking too. I'm just not into that look of a car at all. And it's already a weird looking car. But matte black.
I mean, they tried it with the DeLorean, right? And then that was like the only one I remember that like, you know, like took off.
Is that the only other car that was stainless steel?
That I'm sure there was other ones, but that's the definitive one. That they decided to do.
I
it
mean,
that way.
the matte black model, especially when I look at, and the other thing I don't like are the dorky rims that it comes with. You put some cool tires and rims on that, and the matte black look. And you do?
Yeah, I think it matches the car.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, because it looks dorky. I think that
I'm still not sold,
it looks a little military. If you put some beefier tires and some good rims on that thing and all matte black, it looks pretty.
It looks like something that you would be driving in the Robot Wars. You know?
Yeah, it does. It looks like if it could like fold up its wheels and then all of a sudden fly to space.
Yeah, then
I'm in.
Those wheels got to go.
Did you guys see have you seen the interior?
Not
have
really.
You seen pictures pull up the interior. It's very.
Oh, so you did a camo version.
No, those are. I think that the
CGI things or whatever they do.
No, I think they do those so that when people take pictures of it, like a before release, so they don't get the full. It's hard to get an idea what they really look like. Don't cars do that where they try to like they'll cover them in weird so that when reporters try and take pictures of them. The new Mustang is out, but it's hard to kind of make out what it looks like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
But look up the interior, Doug. It's very clean and it's not busy whatsoever.
I mean, I figured it would look like all the other Teslas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at that. Like if you open that up, look at it's like
not
big
a lot of gauges.
No, it's gonna be really interesting to get used to to drive something like that.
I mean, it looks roomy, which is cool.
Very.
I don't know. I like, and
it doesn't have a traditional steering wheel.
It doesn't look comfortable.
Because like there's a lot of those AI rendered creations of like let's say like the Escalade or like all these like Chevy trucks and things, but they don't put them into production, and so it's like
I know.
This is out, and even like Ford has the Raptor, and like there's other like the TRX for the Ram, and it's like I keep waiting for like GM to make some moves here.
I mean, I saw what you're talking about, but that would be that truck looks sick.
It looks so sick.
I would love for them.
I'm a design guy, so I get it. Like I get the futurism and all that with this. It's hard because it's so different than anything in its. I think it'd take a long time for people to get used to it.
That's what I'm saying. Me, anyway. Like the interior is hard
in the matte black. I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, I can. Is there fuck with this?
Is there a car from our childhood that you guys really really liked? Not like a older or because obviously
like from the years
that we grew up. Is there a car that you were like, oh, I really want that?
I was in love with the Acura Integra.
I liked it too.
I love that.
I was a fan, but you actually got one.
Yeah, I did. They got rid of that. They got rid of that model. That never came back.
You had the Type R?
No, I didn't have, but I did my LS up to be faster than a Type R. Okay. So I had the motor all done.
So you mean like cars like were that same time that we were growing up? Yeah. Yes. So the Toyota truck in Back to the Future.
Oh yeah,
lifted.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is so sick.
You know how much those go for now? Those are expensive.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't a
look
Tacoma,
up
right?
Toyota Future Toyota 4Runner for sale.
Just a regular.
You'll actually, if you literally cue that, it'll come up. That's older than us.
Lights and
that's
everything.
older than us.
Yeah.
That's
80
like
something.
Yeah. That's like early 90s.
That's before we drove.
Yeah,
I thought that was new. They were showcasing it in the movie.
Well, I mean, what year is the first Back to the Future, bro?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was a kid watching that movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm thinking like when we actually drove. Okay.
Yeah,
did you Google like I said?
No, don't put 4Runner, Doug. Just put Back.
There it is, right there.
There it is.
Oh yeah, on the bottom left picture.
Bottom left. Okay, this one right here.
Yeah.
It's just a regular little pickup.
It's just a pickup.
They sell for a hell of money. Find one for sale.
Really?
Yes. If you find one for sale,
is it because of Back to the Future?
Yes. It's just there's certain models of vehicles. Like for example, if you get like the old Broncos, like those are worth a lot of money to refurbish those.
You know how slow cars were back then?
I actually looked at this, so that's how I know that.
You did?
Yeah. They're not cheap.
I always loved it, dude. I was like,
by the way, it's probably a dog. It's probably slow as hell and can't do much. The cars when we were kids
were good gas mileage.
Garbage. Yeah.
No, see, I disagree. I think that's actually what makes it what made it cool is that's why it'll be a valuable car is because it was a cool actual car back then and it still is kind of a cool car.
I bet it was like less than 200 horsepower.
Oh well, I'm not going to argue that.
Well, yeah, nothing was really
pushing that. You know what I used to like? The WS6. What is that? Firebird. So remember they had the Camaro
with
Super Sport.
with the fucking pointed.
Loved it.
Oh my
Loved
god!
it.
That year,
the Ram Air.
those
loved it.
those Camaros and Pontiacs around that time should all be burned.
No, I loved it.
Should never. That was the worst generation.
That
of
was
those.
the American muscle car of our era.
Yeah, but they
Anything
ruined
past,
it.
like,
The
70.
60s and the 70s was where it was
Yeah,
at.
I'm not. That's why I said our era. That's why I had to make the
So
context of.
this one has a rebuilt engine. It's expected to sell for $75,000 to $85,000.
Oh my God.
How crazy is that?
For that?
You could have bought that thing for 12 grand back then.
Totally.
75, 85 grand. Isn't that rad? That's crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's so funny that we're talking about this because I literally
That's funny.
was shopping around in cars and I like, you know what? This was a badass truck. Let me
You know
look
what
it up.
else I
It was
liked?
hella money.
From our era was the Mitsubishi. What was it called?
Oh, the mighty truck.
No. Talking about a car.
Oh.
It was
Oh, you talking about the Eclipse?
No, I like the Eclipse too, but I think it was a Mitsubishi, and they were typically
I'm such an
red.
asshole. Only American.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Did you talk shit about
Yeah, of course.
the imports?
100%.
Were you like Rice Rocket every
Yes,
time they drove by?
every time.
Yeah.
What Mitsubishi
Sorry,
are you
guys.
talking about?
Oh God, was it a Mitsubishi? It was red. They were typically red.
The only Mitsubishi that I know that was cool was the mighty trucks that were little that people used to slam and put the little Dayton wheels on it, and then the Eclipses, which was like the car that every chick loved.
It was actually one
What
of the
car did you like? What Mitsubishi
Hey,
did
the
you
Eclipse looked like it had a big butt.
like? Yeah, it was
Did
a
it?
chick car, bro.
Yeah.
It's like a chick.
No, the turbo was pretty good.
I mean, it was a fast. Yeah, it made it on Fast and the Furious. It was a cool. But yeah, they're pretty sure a chick drove it in that.
I mean, those Datsun Zs were pretty cool. Like
those
one
are
of my friends had one.
those are still collectibles. Like there's groups that people that want.
I mean, I think it's so neat when you have like something like this that actually becomes timeless. I mean, how cool is that? That would be. I'm telling you right now, I would drive that right now. It's a good
It'd be
looking,
fun,
It's
yeah.
a good looking truck.
It is.
And I bet it's super proud. I bet you, okay, so one of the best
It's like a dump run truck.
one of the
for
best
me, dude.
off-road vehicles you could ever have is a Jeep because of the ratio of like with the wheels, how light it is. They never get stuck, right? Like you get a big heavy truck out, that looks all tough, but it weighs a lot of weight.
Well, it started in the military.
They get stuck, right? So Jeeps are, and I bet you that thing is so lightweight. I bet it actually off-roads
Mitsubishi
really, really good.
GTO.
Probably.
Look up Mitsubishi GTO. Do you guys remember that?
They had a GTO.
It was a 1990 something,
The heck?
Mitsubishi. Look that up, dog. G3000, Mitsubishi 3000 GT.
Oh, I
That's the
remember
one.
those. Yeah. I
Wait till
remember
Doug pulls
That's
it up.
before the Eclipse, I think.
That was so 1995.
even-
This was a legit like fast car
that
for
was
them.
popular.
That remember
Oh
that?
my God, yeah, all the
Back in the
cheerleaders
day.
drove that in our school.
No, but they didn't afford. They couldn't afford it. That was an expensive car back then.
Oh, it was
You know, the most embarrassing thing was one of our cheerleaders. She had like some car kind of like that, and on her license plate it said like "I go topless," and it was a hard shell. It wasn't even convertible.
Imagine being her.
I'm
dad.
like,
I
you
know,
just
that
like,
sucks.
imagine you being her dad.
yeah. She's like,
Like,
Honey, why
oh.
are you driving this?
I go topless. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
remember
there's
this
no.
car. I remember this. This
irony
was
here.
the generation before the Eclipse. I believe the Eclipse is what
This was
eclipsed that.
faster.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
no,
it
no.
was.
I don't think
Yes,
so.
it was. This was much faster. I know this. Listen, this is the only era I know about cars because I was into it for like.
Well, I think
3
it was
years.
before. What I'm telling you is, I think it was before. I don't. I mean,
Do you know what's a sleeper car from that era? Grand National.
that's the ultimate sleeper car.
Yeah.
That's
It looks like an old man car.
That's
That
the
thing-
ultimate. But those sell for hella money too.
Yeah.
Try and get a Grand National. They're super expensive.
Yeah. There are.
But
there
that's
it is
that's
right there.
Doug's era. That's even further back, bro.
No, it's not.
Yes.
No, that's
This
an
guy,
87.
Yeah,
I guess you're
87.
right.
Fucking.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever see that old picture of Doug from the 1980s where he's in a leather jacket?
Bro.
What's that picture? Where'd you take
Or
that?
he's modeling.
I took it myself. I shot it.
It was a
into
selfie
mirror. It was a
with
selfie
the camera.
Yeah, with an
Before
actual
selfies were a thing.
film camera.
Yeah.
Doug
Back
was
in
so
the
ahead
day.
of his time.
Way ahead of my time.
So
yeah.
ahead of his time.
He
You can
aged
see it
so
on my
well.
Instagram account.
He aged so well. If you
He
look
looks
at
younger
pictures
today.
of him
He
now.
looks younger today than
I
he did
know.
then.
I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on.
those are definitely I think that's the ultimate sleeper whip ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a monster back then. Who in
ugly.
here uses the Juve the most? I was using it for a while. I had stopped now, and I can tell. I got to get back on.
I
it.
just
use
used it
almost
today.
every day now.
You do.
I'm doing an experiment with my hair. So traditionally, I just sit in front of the Juve, but
And
it's
do your
not really
face.
hitting the back of my head.
Yeah.
And I've been having some issues with losing hair on the top of my head.
Yeah.
And so what I do every night before I go to bed is I have a small panel.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on my bed and I lay down in front of it and
do
just
it.
let it hit my head for 10
How
to
long have
20
you been doing
minutes. For about 2.5 weeks, maybe.
Okay. So like 3 months is when we'll notice.
Yeah. And so if you tell me that you can't see my scalp anymore, I'll be very happy.
Okay.
But I'll attribute it to that.
All right. Speaking of hair, do you what's your natural hair color, by the way, Doug? Is it
White.
Is it totally white?
White.
Or is it like mine?
It's probably more salt and pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think that would look good, huh?
You know what?
It's too late.
I've
We
already
should run a poll.
I've already asked certain people in my life if I should go back to that because I'm willing to do it.
You
Honestly,
would look good.
But
and they don't want me to. So
You asked your
if
daughter?
they're the one, if they're the
Not my
ones that
daughter.
hey Doug, no, if they're the ones sleeping with you, they're the ones that you want to.
exactly.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't listen
it
to
was
Sal.
plural, by the way. Certain people. How
Yeah,
many people?
yeah, yeah.
What's going on, Doug?
Well, I was trying to be very.
Right, yeah.
I was trying to be very general. Okay.
I took a survey of 15
like,
people.
yeah.
Chicks
Yeah,
that-
yeah. No, well, obviously, I have a long-term friend that's been doing my hair, and she, of course, she doesn't want me to stop either because I pay her to.
Yeah. There's a little bias there, Doug.
Yes. No, you should never stop. That'll be
What are you
$160.
going to do with all
please.
these dyes? Yeah.
Should I just do the $30 haircut, or should I keep getting my hair colored?
Yeah.
By you? Keep coloring it.
She's not the one to ask, but
Yeah,
everybody else I agree
yeah,
with.
yeah.
It's a little misleading.
I think it's actually, I think where I don't like it and people is like right now, it would be hard for Sal to do it now because he's already.
If I went jet black in my hair and my beard,
Yeah.
all I would do is look like a magician. You know what I mean? I would look like,
Well, yeah.
You're 100% David Blaine
Yeah,
material,
bro.
dude.
Yeah.
not happening.
Yeah, you
I'm doing
you
magic.
can't. You've already committed that direction, right? So I feel like since you've always been very consistent with coloring it, even early on, it looks great. And
Dude,
it-
I didn't actually start doing it until I was probably close to 40 years old, though.
Well, that's as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I had this like crazy thought. You know how I get all into cults and I'm like through every documentary possible?
Okay.
I'm like, dude, why like so there's magicians out there that just mystify everybody.
Yeah,
They put on these
yeah.
acts. Like they would be the perfect cult leader.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Of
just-
course. David Layne. David
They kinda-
Layne.
Blaine would have like the
He would-
biggest
They kind of do.
following.
Yeah,
of,
but I mean, he
No,
could
but
literally,
like-
Yeah,
make a cult
yeah,
cult.
like he could take them down.
Right. You
to-
could try and say like I'm the son of
Kool-Aid
God.
level.
I'm the son of God. Look at
yeah.
watch me do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just announce that and people would be.
I mean,
and then
I mean, he would convince me. Have you you've seen some of his shit? You know that he does. I'd be like, maybe
Yeah.
he is. I don't know.
you just eat an apple and all of a sudden like a card comes out and like, ah,
Have you seen that one guy?
I'm a believer.
There's this one dude that it's like these are obviously like parody, right? But he pretends to be a magician, and so he pretends to be like a David Blaine, and he does some like really inappropriate like magic bits with people. Have you seen these? Oh,
Probably.
bro,
Okay.
they're bad. I don't even know if I want to talk about it
Oh,
on the
God.
show. We'll clear that.
Do you know his
Maybe
name
not.
or what?
The famous starts with a J, right?
Oh man,
You have to look him up. I'll give us a shout out.
he's like it's in
today.
your mouth or something like that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's all I'm gonna say.
You know who we should shout out, and I'm sure we may not need to shout this person out because we talk about them so much. But I mean, in case our audience hasn't, is we should shout out Layne.
Bio
formerly.
Layne.
Yeah,
Bio
formerly.
Layne on Instagram.
His Instagram's Bio Layne, and he is notorious for taking down charlatans
watchdog.
and calling out.
Industry.
But he's also if a study comes out that I want someone to really break down, that's the person I turn to. He'll break it down very honestly. And
Yeah, we love Layne.
objectively.
Yeah, we love Layne for sure.
There's a device called the Pod made by a company called 8 Sleep that really, really improves the quality of your sleep. So here's what it does. You put it over your bed, under your sheets, and it controls the temperature of bed. But that's not all. It monitors your sleep and uses sophisticated AI technology to individualize the temperature throughout the night to improve the quality of your sleep. This is the most effective sleep system anywhere in the world. And it's available not just in the US, you can get it in Canada, the UK, and other countries in the EU. So most of you listening have access to this, and we have a discount for you. Go check it out. Go to 8sleep.com. That's 8EIGHT. So spelled out 8sleep.com/mind pump. And on that link, you'll get a discount. All right, back to the show.
Our first caller is Josh from California.
Hey, welcome back, Josh.
Going
How you
on,
doing,
man?
How can we help you?
Well, first off, real quick, I just wanted to say you guys are awesome. I appreciate everything you do. I've learned quite a lot. I love when you guys talk about, stuff other than fitness, like managing relationships and mental health and all that kind of stuff. I think it is pushing society in the right direction. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
My question is, a little bit of a weird one, but I have buddies that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they get stoned before they do it. And they say that they have a really good connection. They learn. I don't know if they claim that they learned a little bit quicker. I have also tried this in the gym a few times, and gotten nice and enhanced, and go in there, and I feel like I have a terrific workout, and really make like a good connection to the muscle. And I don't know, I feel like I can really perfect my form and technique and all that kind of stuff. Am I crazy? Is there any type of PED effect with THC, or is contemplating my free will while lifting not really doing much?
I was gonna say, have you ever worked out? Have you ever worked out on weed?
Yeah. All right. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. So there is some data on THC.
There's a few things here.
And athletic performance, and then there's some newer studies, but the older studies showed that THC reduces reaction time, reduces power output, and essentially was not a performance enhancer. Essentially wasn't something that an athlete would want to take to improve performance. Now, anecdotally, especially endurance and stamina-based athletes are like, oh, a little THC makes a big difference. Now, we do know that THC seems to have some pain relieving effects, or to put it maybe a little bit more clearly, changes the way you perceive the pain. And with athletic endeavors that involve needing that perseverance or grind or whatever, it may help. And like I said, there's a lot of anecdote. There's currently a study underway where they're really trying to be specific about studying whether or not, if there's a dose, if it's dose dependent, were they using too much in the older studies? Like, what's the deal? Why is there so many anecdotes that are coming out about it? The last study I saw was a survey-based one. And a lot of times people discredit survey-based ones, but I don't in this case. And in this study, they asked a bunch of people that used cannabis, before their workouts. And they said, hey, do you feel like it makes your workouts more enjoyable? I like that question, because the answer was yes for most of them. Like, yeah, I did like the workout more. Does that play a role in how your workouts are going to affect you, or the relationship you develop with the workout and so on? Yeah, it could be a positive. It could also be a negative one, right? You could also create a negative relationship where you need THC or weed in order to enjoy the workout. So this is a mixed bag for me. And then in jiu-jitsu is like surfing, jiu-jitsu, skateboarding, like certain sports, ultra long distance running now is one. Like we're
Frisbee golf.
Yeah, where cannabis is like they'll talk about it as like this performance enhancer. I mean,
I think it's for different reasons though, right? So my theory on this, even though I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy, I have quite a few friends that do, including someone like Sal. And one of the common things that I hear them say, that a mistake that a lot of people make in jiu-jitsu is trying to like muscle their way through the moves and stuff. And it's such a sport where you need to be able to flow. And there's as much as there is a strength aspect to it, there's also this kind of like relax and be strong. And so I think that calming effect that people get from THC, I think that really plays into jiu-jitsu more so than a lot of other sports. As far as the working out one, the studies are clear on that. You're not getting a performance enhancement. Again, I think that plays into the individual. If you're somebody, let's say, who's got a very high stress life, or you got a lot of business stuff, like you get distracted. Like part of why I loved cannabis at night was, it improved my sleep because it would get me out of my own head. Like I always think about work, and it's hard for me to not be thinking about the business. And so when I would smoke, it would calm me down, and I'd be into a movie, and I wouldn't even be thinking about business and work. So if you're going into the gym and you got a lot of stuff on your mind, family guy, business, you got all this stuff going on, and you smoke, and all of a sudden all that stuff kind of fades away, and you're just hyper present on what you're doing, you could totally make it feel like it's an enhancement. And I've had people that say that. Now, that doesn't work for me for training. Training, I can get in the zone. It's actually one of the best ways I can distract myself from everything else in the world. And so I find that when I smoke before I work out, because of course I've tried that, it doesn't seem to improve it. I do, though, notice an improvement when I do cardio. Because I hate
force production's pretty tough.
Yeah.
With it. But again, mobility, I think for me is like, I've noticed that is like a way to, again, be in tune with your body, kind of feel your way through movements, positions, and really be a little bit more present. And it is kind of a bit of a flow state, I guess an artificial kind of a flow state that you feel with that. So I do see a little bit of benefit from that personally.
Yeah. You know what, Adam, I don't know if you realize how like brilliant what you said was, that observation, because you see THC anecdotally being used a lot by ultra distance runners. You almost never hear sprinters talk about THC. You almost never hear an explosive sprinter say, oh yeah, I like to hit the joint or have an edible and then go try to hit, a 50-yard dash or 100-yard dash. It's always, I run a marathon or 50 miles or 100 miles, right? Jiu-jitsu is a great example. You got jiu-jitsu, and then I guess the explosive grappling version of that would be like Greco-Roman wrestling or collegiate wrestling. You don't hear a lot of Greco wrestlers say, yeah, I like THC, but jiu-jitsu, especially with the gi, you got to slow down. It's very technical. It's much more like chess. Not to say wrestling and Greco isn't, but Greco and wrestling, it's very fast and explosive in comparison. If you grapple, you know what I'm talking about. You take the gi off and it's fast. You put the gi on and you're going much slower. So boy, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, Adam. I think for things that require stamina, endurance, slowing down, that might be more benefit. You want power and explosive speed, then maybe not. And then, of course, there's an individual variance. I will say this, though. Look, with any substance, and THC especially, receptors start to downregulate. You need more to produce the same effect. You could develop a bad relationship with it. So, and by the way, caffeine is in that same category. Caffeine gets a pass though, because we've been using it forever and it's everybody's, everybody has it every morning, but same thing. You downregulate receptors. You start to become numb to it. You need more of it. So, buyer beware, right? Is what I would say, but could it be a performance enhancer? I mean, yeah, that depends on the individual and what they're doing. I think so.
Would it maybe be more of like, considered like a hack? Because I have a hard time like kind of connecting to my muscles sometimes, except when I am in that headspace, it feels like I can really get like a rock solid connection. So it may not give me any more power or anything like that, but
sure,
it's strengthening that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. Yeah. It totally could. If you feel that way, then that's probably what's happening for you. So I'd say anything used responsibly. But I think if you get caught in that space where you have to have something. I do this with caffeine. Like, I'm at the point now where I can't work out without having like caffeine before my workout. And that's when I know I need to back off on the caffeine, because I've developed this.
Just as a, periodically, not, I'm not going to get stoned every day to go, NPRs.
Here's something else that's interesting. There was a study that showed that the state that you learn in, you're more likely to be able to recall what you learned when you're in that state again. Okay. So to apply to what we're talking about, you learn a bunch of techniques in jiu-jitsu while you're stoned. You're probably going to be able to better replicate them or execute them when you're stoned again. So it may be a positive feedback loop, like, oh, I get stoned before jiu-jitsu, and then, oh, I perform better when I'm stoned. They show this on tests. Well, they'll have people learn things sober, test sober, learn things stoned, test sober, or do it stoned. And they find that the state that most mirrors how you learned it is the state you're most likely going to be able to execute better. So there's also that potential positive feedback loop that might be happening.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have anything free to get. We can send you a free joint or something, but I don't think we have any. I think Adam smoked them all. So,
got plenty of that.
Yeah. If you lost something stoned, it's usually good to get stoned, and then you'll find it.
And then you'll find, or you forget that you lost something.
I mean,
anecdotal evidence.
I mean, you've been listening long enough to hear my journey with smoking and THC and stuff like that. And I think a good exercise for you, if you don't already do it, is to remove it occasionally in and out of your life and see how it affects you. And every time that I do that and then I allow it to come back in and reintroduce it, I'm so much better with the relationship with it. And I start to also get closer to what is it like? And maybe you get a better connection to like, oh, maybe it's not all the time, but certainly when I have things that are stressing me out at home or work or something like that, and then I smoke and then I get this better connection. But as long as that's all in order and I'm good, I actually get just as good of a connection. And so you can start to learn more about yourself and how you're reacting to those things. And so I'm big on always cycling stuff like this in and out of my life. So I don't, and then this goes in the same category as caffeine and kratom and a lot of these other things that people tend to love to use. I think it's a good exercise to do that if you don't do that already.
I had heard on a couple podcasts ago, you were talking about how you kind of cut back. And most years, I've been doing it like for a few years now, but, I'll take a couple months completely off and not do anything. Caffeine's a hard one, but pod for sure. And then it's more of just like a tolerance reset for me too, because over the year, it gets so high that, I end up really not even be able to achieve like getting stoned. But how do you, like when you throttle back, like what does that look like? Do you just kind of go cold turkey, or do you? Yeah,
only because Sal and I talk about this a lot because we actually are affected differently by it. I'm lucky. There's certain things I can cut cold turkey and certain things I can't. Example, I threw out the thing like kratom. If I'm using kratom and then I come off, I have to taper down, or I feel the adverse effects of that massively. For some reason, smoking, I could be, chronically using it daily for months straight, and then all of a sudden go, I'm done, and I'm actually totally fine. But some people are different. Sal's like, man, I'll get headaches, and I feel this way, and so he's got a taper on certain things like that. So it really that's totally dependent on the individual on how they do it. I have found a lot of success in just cutting it cold turkey, and just like you, I'll go a few months, and just to prove to myself it's not something I need in my life, and then honestly, the way I sell it to my buddies that like to smoke like you is exactly what you said, which is, hey, the best part about it is you save money, because when you go back, you need a tenth of what you needed and what you built your tolerance up to, right? Yeah,
that's right.
You're on the right track though, bro. I think you're doing fine.
Yep. You got to puff, give now.
Hey, do whatever it takes. I'm getting older, so I need all the angles and advantages I can get.
You got it, brother.
Right on, Josh.
Thanks for calling in.
Right on. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew I needed to cut back when I started injecting weed. That's
stupid.
You know what? Hey, think seriously though.
Those heroin workouts.
Jesus. Seriously though, I don't think I've ever heard of a sprinter be like, "Oh yeah, bro, I like."
No.
It's always the long, slow, and if you think about the way it makes you feel, I could see myself going on a long ass.
You don't want to do like crazy aggressive stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's just kind of where it's at. Like
right before you hit a PR.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
I just can't imagine putting myself in that position.
Yeah, but if we were going to go on like a long ass hike or something like that, maybe
amazing. Sure.
Yeah.
My thought is like I mean, again, this is speculation, right? I have no proof of this, but I really feel like it's like getting out of your own head.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so if you are easily distracted by other things in your life and you are to go to the gym, and by doing that, it kind of melts that away. And then all of a sudden you become just hyper present, because that's the goal, right? Is like becoming super present on the lift. And then you get the most out of your lift, which for guys like ourselves who have been lifting forever, we have a passion for it. We love to do it. Like I don't need any, give me my music is about all I need.
Yeah, totally.
Music in my ears. And that's like my drug of choice for getting super connected to the workout. And I don't need any performance
Unless
stuff.
You're trying to get like insanely creative.
Yeah. Totally different.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Bob from Pennsylvania.
Bob, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
What's up, guys? Pleasure to meet you guys. I've been listening for 6-7 years now. I was looking back last night. I mean, I saw some of the podcasts I used to listen to, like prison workouts. They're pretty classic. I was listening to one last night. It was pretty funny. It was like episode like 50.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to meet you guys. I mean, like I said, I've been an avid listener. I mean, I think I've bought everything from all your sponsors in the past 6-7 years. So
thanks, man.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
Yeah,
my question's pretty simple compared to some of the questions I hear on here from other callers. I put it in a couple months ago. I was on, just to give you some background, I'm 6'4", 238, a former professional athlete. So I've played a lot of years professionally, baseball, played basketball in college as well. I've always been into fitness. I started working out probably 25 years ago, like my sophomore year of college, and I haven't stopped since. And I found you guys a couple of years ago, got some programs, started with Anabolic. It was okay. I wasn't a big fan at the time of full body workouts. I like the bro splits. I like working out 5 days a week. But then you guys, and then I bought Split, I bought Aesthetic. Those two were just, there was a lot of volume there, a lot there. But then Anabolic Advanced came out and I loved it. It was right up my alley. 5 days a week, I was doing it 5 or 6 days a week. It had a little bit of everything, had some mobility in there, had some go to failure some weeks, and then other weeks were more volume. It was just perfect. It changed it up for me, made it really kind of exciting. And I did that a couple months, 2 months ago. I just finished that up for the third time in a row.
Wow.
So I did it 3 times in a row. And then I thought, okay, maybe I should, I'm not really good at taking a step back. So I started Anabolic I did the pre-phase of Anabolic, and I just started phase 1 this week. And that's what I decided to do, to kind of like, because Anabolic seems like a step back a little bit, like almost like a step to kind of like regain some.
Yeah, it is.
Some kind of, yeah. So I guess my question comes down to, it's like, Anabolic Advanced is like right in my alley. I have performance. That scares me a little bit just because I'm afraid I'm going to pull a hammy or break an ankle. Some of those exercises in there, even though I'm a former athlete, I'm 47 in a couple months here. But I think for me, I was asking at the time, like if I went through Anabolic Advanced again, is it all right to like, I guess it's all right to like the optional exercises, put them in versus another exercise, or kind of like where to go? Like, is Anabolic a good choice? Like regular Anabolic now? And
here's what's exciting about talking to you right now, bro, is, and I'm going to have Doug get it over to you. I don't know how soon he can get it to you, because I know we're wrapping it up, but we literally just created a program, and it's for 40 pluses. And it's kind of, the way we've talked about it is it's like a tune up. And if I was over 40, I would make sure that I run this every single year, at least one time through, and cycle that in all my other programming that I love to do. And you sound like you're such the perfect person for this, because if Anabolic Advanced is fine, but you do want to make sure you're addressing some things just for overall joint health and mobility and rotational strength and things that will keep you from getting injured, keep you healthy, keep you feeling good, and not always just pushing the weight, pushing the max, keep pushing that all the time. And so I'll have Doug send that to you, because I think that is like a ultimate. I mean, I don't know unless you guys disagree.
No, that's good. That if you have 40 plus symmetry and Anabolic Advanced, every once in a while interrupt your cycles of Anabolic Advanced with one of those 2 programs, you're done. You're good. And here's the other thing too, Bob. You've been training for so long. You're so connected to your body. You've been following like, if you want, like, you're the person I would trust if you came to me and said, hey, can I swap out some exercises or whatever? Yeah. I mean, I would trust you over my own opinion. I'd have to train you for a while before I'd feel really confident in my opinion over yours. I would ask you and say, well, what feels better for you? And what do you think? Especially
since you've ran through it multiple times, the way it's laid out.
Totally.
If you pull something out because you're like, you know what, I think I need to do more of this and I'm not, and so I'm going to get rid of this exercise and put this one in. You have the ability to compare to what it was like when you had it in there. And did that improve? Did it get better? Did it get worse? Like, so you're the perfect person to give the green light on, hey, yeah, man, if there's some exercises in there that you feel like, you know, you're either overdoing it or that, you know what, I'm missing out on something that I know I need, and then you want to swap it, absolutely. Or do like what we're saying, which is just make sure that once a year you're interrupting your year of training with a program like 40 plus or like Symmetry, because that's kind of how those were written, was to address a lot of those things that might come up.
Totally.
Yeah, I never even looked at Symmetry. I'm aware of it. I never even looked at it. But the over 40, it's interesting. I was going to bring that up. I was wishing you guys would come out, because I looked for programs over 40, not to sound old, but you still think you can do what you can do. But at the same time, I want to stay strong, healthy, and just, you know, be able to have energy really at this point. Like you said, Sal, I mean, I've been working out so long, getting really big strength gains is just not happening anymore. Like it's like really incremental. It's more about just changing it up, kind of shocking the system. And that's what I've been doing. And I think like an over 40 program is it's something, it's perfect. You're
going to love it.
Yeah,
It's the first time too.
That's how I work out a lot now. And it's not a compromise. And it's not like a lot of 40 plus programs are really just watered down traditional workouts. So it's like, oh, you're over 40 now. Yeah. We got to make this really easy type of. We have beginner programs that people can use for that. Like we have MAP Starter, we have MAPS Resistance. Like you could do pre-phase of Anabolic if you like. We have those programs. We made MAPS 40 plus for people like you who work out all the time,
or ourselves.
It's like really a reflection of like our own training.
Yeah. How do we train now without compromising performance? And what are the things that we need to consider now? Just because we've been doing this for so long, And that's what's in the program. So I think
you're actually going to be the first person we give it to. So this will be fun. You're a great candidate for this. I can't wait to hear the feedback as you go through it. And this is the first program we'd ever put any sort of focus on lifestyle. So there's a lot of lifestyle stuff in there as far as like how to implement cold showers and things like that into your routine too. Yeah. So hopefully you'll appreciate all the focus on that detail of it too, is actually wrapping in a bunch of lifestyle stuff with the training.
Yeah, we've never done that before, so it's pretty. What position, by the way, did you play? You played baseball, right?
Yeah. I was drafted as a third baseman. I became a pitcher in the minor leagues and wound up pitching. Played about 3.5 years in the big leagues. Awesome. Not enough not to stop working though, unfortunately.
Well, especially back in those days. Maybe these contracts these days, man. Did you see old boy just got that $700 million?
They pay him like
bro,
even the minimum now is like 700,000.
Dude, I mean we're a year away, maybe 2 years from $1 billion baseball contract. How fucking crazy is that?
It's great. It's nuts, especially for baseball. I mean, but the money keeps coming in from the advertisers. TV contract that they're going to pay what they can get.
Yeah.
And remember, $1 billion today is worth $1 billion.
You were a decade just too soon, bro.
I love inflation.
Yeah, I mean, we're a couple of years too short. God, I mean, injuries. That's another thing. All the injuries I've had: 2 shoulder surgeries, knee surgery. I mean, just trying to know my limits. It's funny, when I was playing, I was much more. I lifted heavy for a pitcher. I really did at the time, but I didn't touch barbells. I did a lot of dumbbell work, and then once I got done, it was like deadlifts, squat, like hardcore, like as strong as I could possibly be. In my 30s, I was as strong as I ever was. And then, 40s crept up, have a kid creeps in, and next thing you know, you're still strong, but you just want to stay kind of like energized as well. And just beat myself up.
The reason I asked your position, partly curiosity, the other part is like as a pitcher, like map symmetry is going to be amazing for
the
you.
Discrepancies.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. For that. Yeah, because there's. I mean, I've trained pitchers before, not at your level, but in the right to left, asymmetry is dramatic.
Well, we're gonna have Doug send over the 40+ one, so you have that. And if there's another one that you dabble with, mess with symmetry, because that'd be a great one. And then one more actually for you that if you don't have already, do you have Prime Pro?
No, I don't.
That's actually another really good investment for you too.
The mobility stuff.
Just because if you have like achy joints or shoulder bothering you, so it's literally specific to correctional type work. So it's like perfect for somebody who's like, oh, I got something going on, my hips bother me. Go straight to that program. It'll help you with exercises to address that. So I'll get Doug.
Yeah, I know. I got into it in Anabolic Advanced with like some of that mobility day, like with the 90-90s and things. That was my first time ever doing something. Like I still 90-90s. I mean, my hips feel like they're going to break. I'm so inflexible. It's not even funny. But yeah, I know it helps a lot. That's why I like the Anabolic Advanced. It like forced me that one day to really focus on those things, like the handcuffs with rotations, which like I feel like I'm dying when I'm doing with my shoulders.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's they're all great. I mean, I really learned a lot from the podcast too. It's been great. So it kind of keps me in tune with things.
Thanks, Bob.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thanks
for the support, man.
Yeah, awesome guys. Great meeting you.
All right, you too.
That was cool.
Yeah,
really, really cool. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about.
He's so perfect for 40+.
What a good candidate. For that
first one we give away. All right, first one we gave away. Can't wait to hear the feedback from someone like that. So that's gonna be great.
Of professional athletes are just interesting to observe when you watch them perform, because it's such a crazy level. But one of the most trippiest things I've said this before. One of the trippiest things I've ever seen in my life up close was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Yeah. If you've never seen one in front of you, it'll
scare the shit out of you.
It makes a sound as it flies through the air, and it's like, what is that, bro? Did someone throw that? That's crazy.
Our next caller is Seth from Ohio.
Seth, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Good.
Your room looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys flying me out to the studio. I know it looks a little different, but I appreciate that gesture. It was great to fly me out for this short call.
Yeah, it's weird. Right.
What you got for us, bro?
Well, let me just start to say thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I've been listening to you guys since about 2020. Found you guys, Sal, you were on an episode of Genius Life with Max Lugavere. So shout out to Max for introducing me to you guys. And I appreciate all the fitness and nutrition advice you guys have given for free. Over these last almost 4 years of me following you guys.
Thank you.
It's been really, really invaluable for me to listen to you guys and learn from you guys. And additionally, I got 3 kids. 2 sons, ages 4 and 3, and then I've got a 6-month-old daughter. So it's been kind of cool to listen to you guys talk about some of the fun things with parenting and the challenges. Like, I literally that morning, I'm like, oh my God, Adam's talking about Max just did this. And that was like, I literally did that this morning. So really cool just all around. So appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you, man.
So to my question, give you guys a little background. So I played basketball in high school. I stunk. Don't worry, there's nothing to brag about. But I then went to college. Didn't really work out that much when I went to college. Then I started doing a 60-day beach body, would lose a bunch of weight, gain it all back the next 2 months later. Did that for a while. And about 2016 is when I discovered Spartan races. Fell in love with it. Was like, oh my God, this is like the funnest thing ever, doing OCR races. Fell in love with the high of like all the high intensity, that goes into doing OCR training and endurance training. And just really just kept going along that path of trying to do that and just Googling workouts of, what's a good OCR workout, and just following whatever that said. And essentially I just started adding more and more and more and more. And then COVID hit and I really got my nutrition dialed in. I dropped 25 pounds, which just further emboldened me to do more and do longer workouts and more reps and all this stuff. And essentially you guys can probably guess where it's going here is I've since then, since 2020, just been battling injuries left and right between ankle, knee, wrist, elbow. And so I've been on this track of this for the past 3 years of just really trying to figure out, I'd do some mobility stuff. I'd feel better. I'd ramp it right back up, go balls to the wall, get injured again in 2 months. And so it also, all that to say, I really love OCR. I love the endurance training aspect of it. But at this point, with 3 kids, 4 and under, trying to train for endurance sports doesn't seem as easy these days. And frankly, my body just feels pretty beat up at this point. So I'm just trying, I don't want to give up on OCR completely. It's been a really great motivator for me to stay focused and exercise. So I want to kind of better understand, I feel like at this point, after listening to the show, in particularly the last few months, of feeling like my best route is to just go strength or muscle building solely. But I also want to keep that cardio endurance kind of in my back pocket. So I want to maintain some level of running while also ramping up just some stricter strength-based goals. So just want to get your guys' thoughts and ideas of, how should I balance that?
Seth, I'm looking at the programs you own. I'm so surprised you don't own Performance. You've got a lot of.
I actually just bought it on Black Friday, so I sent my question before. So I bought the whole RGB bundle.
Okay, because
now
that's the program for you. I mean, you're still gonna build muscle, and you're going to address enough endurance that you're still going to be able to get ready for an OCR race or do something like that if you wanted to, if you follow that routine. And you're going to address all the mobility and joint issue stuff. So that would be one suggestion. The other one, and this is you're going to have to answer this for yourself, is the MAPS 15 route. So those are the two that I think of when I hear your story right now is, if you can handle the amount of training volume and frequency of Performance, then that's a great program based off of your goals and where you're currently at and what you want to achieve. If the kids and the life and that stuff like that, that's a bit overwhelming and it's hard to do both those, then I would go the MAPS 15 route.
So let me ask you this, because you're going to keep doing OCR races, you said. Do you know, and you have a 6-month-old, so, and I know what that's like. The first year is quite hectic. And you got you said a 4 and a 3-year-old? Is that what you said? Okay, yeah. So here's what I would do is I would do MAPS 15, do the advanced version, okay? And I would do that for a full cycle. And then look in the future for when the next OCR races that you want to do, I would schedule it out. I wouldn't do it 3 months from now either. I'd do it kind of maybe further out and then do MAPS OCR to lead up to it. That's it. But I would take a nice little break right now because you're probably doing a lot. You work. I'm assuming you work. Yep. You've got your kids.
Full time.
Yeah, you got a 6-month-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. You're coming out of injuries left and right. I think you should do a full cycle of MAPS 15, do the advanced version of it. Don't add anything else. Just do that for now. Let your body heal. And then when you're ready to get ready for a race, run OCR. And yeah, your endurance will suffer in the beginning, but it'll come back really fast.
I mean,
You'll adapt quickly.
I still would want him to do a round of knees, hips, wrist, elbows, and ankles, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. I mean, I would not want him just to do a MAPS 15.
That's
which
just
is
for him to rest. Dude.
I know, but but you're still not addressing all the.
Oh, you mean post?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I hear what you're saying.
So
yeah. Following MAPS 20 or MAPS 15, excuse me, MAPS 20, the advanced version. Then performance would probably be a good kind of follow up, and then use OCR to train for your. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, you did it already. You bought performance, so you're on the right track with that. And I do agree with the 15 of like scaling down the volume. You just might be in a place in your life where your body's just trying to tell you like, hey, you need to back off a bit. And MAPS 15 will do that for you. And then as you start to probably get ramped up again and you want to get back into it, I would say go to performance next, and then maybe
OCR to get you ready for your race.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one of the things, do you guys think I should spend like Sal, you said, just like kind of back off for a while? Is that with the MAPS 15, or should I try to like just strictly focus on mobility for like 6-8 weeks and then get into 15? Or do you think it's good to just
I think go straight to MAPS 15.
Yeah, you go right to it.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And then take it from there. I think your body just needs a break right now more than anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's kind of how I used it when we first started doing this, and this was when Max was younger, right? When we first wrote the program. Is I would follow it as it's laid out. And then there's times, and you know this as a dad, where, oh, wow, look at that. He's sleeping for an hour and I've got a little bit of time for myself. And then I would do mobility stuff. And so it's like if you find the days where you got extra time and you're feeling good, instead of doing more weights, more work, do mobility stuff to address do all the stuff for your ankle and the wrist and the shoulders and the 90-90s and incorporate that. If you do anything else besides the MAPS 20, incorporate more mobility stuff. That'll only help you leading into performance or leading back into OCR.
Awesome. That's awesome, guys. I appreciate it.
And
you got it, man.
Do you have MAPS 15 already or no?
I do not have 15.
Okay, we'll send that one over to you.
Awesome.
You got
I appreciate it, guys, and take care. And
thanks for coming by.
Yeah. Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights.
I'll make sure I get the lights. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right,
take care, guys.
Take it easy.
I stole your idea. I just said it before.
That was pretty clever. That was pretty clever.
Bro, it's a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 6-month-old training like that. I mean, come on, that's a lot.
It's cool because I love things like OCR and stuff like that, especially if you notice like the way he started, like, oh man, it lit this fire, and I love doing it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with going down that rabbit hole of enjoying that process. This is how I feel about people that fall in love with CrossFit, but just become aware of this is normally what it leads to right here, especially when you add in kids and other things. Sport. And what happens to a lot of people is they identify so much with being a OCR runner or a CrossFitter that they will not leave the modality.
It's hard to break up.
Yes. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with those things, but recognize the potential side effects that almost catch up to everybody from training that way. And so then you have to be able to move out of that. And otherwise, you're just going to constantly
still need the training to build your body and reinforce your joints and keep your body, avoiding injury in order to then do what you love to do, which is perform in the sport.
Our next caller is Jessica from Canada.
Hi, Jessica. How can we help you?
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call. I'll skip over the usual thank you for everything you do, love you guys and all that stuff, and I'll
don't skip over that.
Go ahead. Question.
Don't skip over that.
Tell us why.
Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, just kidding. Go ahead.
Perfect.
All right. So I'll just get right into my question. So I've been listening to you guys for about 5 years now. I finally purchased a bundle during the Black Friday special. I got the Sexy Athlete bundle. I really just wanted to have access to performance. So I do training for youth teams, and I have I've got hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, volleyball, everything under the sun from ages 11 to 17. So I really wanted to have performance just so I could kind of use those different exercises, more athletic style exercises, and kind of incorporate that for the kids. And because like everybody's kind of in different seasons, whether it's like off season, preseason, or in season, my main question was just how would you go about using performance in terms of implementing that with the kids? Because I only see them once a week. And because they're all at different areas of like their seasons, how would you go about implementing things like bits and pieces from performance into something for the kids to do?
Our ages are what?
11 to 17.
11 to 17?
Yeah, 11 to 17.
Okay, so I'll tell you one of the biggest mistakes I see with coaches and young athletes is that they use the workout. So not the practices. So forget practice where you're actually playing the sport and you're doing scrimmages and all that stuff. I'm talking about the actual workouts. The coaches use the workouts and they think that this is how I'm going to make the athlete as fit as possible. And so they rush through the exercises and push-ups and lunges and keep going type of deal, where you could save that for the practices. You can make them play hard. They'll enjoy that. That'll give them the fitness. The workout should be more about injury prevention, body stability, and control. So, and that's going to be very individual because you gave us a broad range, right? From 11 to 17. So like an 11-year-old, it might be as simple as holding, a pair of dumbbells above their head, really straight and tall and walking and trying to be very, very stable, right? Or it could be a lateral tube walk. That's very, very valuable for a lot of female athletes in particular, especially as they go through puberty because the hips start to change shape and you see ACL injuries, for example. So my training would be less focused on conditioning them and more about injury prevention, stability, and control. And that's how I would pick the movements at a performance. Like you would identify what this particular athlete needs or this group of athletes are like, oh, wow, like none of them can balance on one foot or all of them are really, really asymmetrical because they throw with their right and their left is weak or whatever. And then I would base the session based off that on developing stability, control, and preventing injury. And then they'll get the workouts with the scrimmages. So
yeah, I like that you're thinking in that direction. I'm a bit perplexed just because of the age range. I like that for like a little bit older kids. I'm a little bit more partial to symmetry as a suggestion, mainly because of what Sal's kind of bringing up in terms of the stability, control, attention to form and mechanics and to be able to kind of have everybody do. So this is in like a group setting, I'm imagining, right? And that's a hard thing to kind of organize. Yeah. And I think that the way it's laid out is pretty simplistic. It's, we can go, unilateral training is in there. I think it's very valuable. And then even to like 5x5, in our fourth phase with that is something we kind of want to progress into in terms of just a pure strength, focus. And so like the workouts there, I think in terms of how you put that together, I think that would be an easier way to sort of manage like just on a workout perspective.
Yeah, this is kind of a challenging question because
there's so much nuance here. It's really hard for me to wrap.
So I have some ideas around how I do this. So because of the age gap and the probably the skill level of their ability to perform the movement, I would probably only pick 3 to 5 movements total 100%. That I'm teaching. And they would be like, so let's say my 15 to 17 year olds, they're going to do the reverse lunge to press movement that we have like in there, like the landmine movement, right? That's kind of an advanced type of technical movement because it's not only it's compound, but they're also moving their upper and lower body. And so maybe something like that, that's like what I consider my advanced. And then maybe I have like a goblet squat for like my 11-year-olds or something like, so I'd pick a couple skill-based movements that I'm going to categorize my kids in, and I really just get them proficient at those movements instead of treating it like I want to give them a workout. Like
it's like you're teaching them a skill,
right? Instead of thinking like you want to give them a workout, correct. like yes. Sal was saying, it's like I'm only going to pick a couple exercises, and maybe that looks like 2 different exercises for each age grade, and this better than anybody. Like you look at your class, you probably can think of oh, I have a set of kids that are like really deconditioned or just don't have good coordination. So I'm going to put them as my super low skill. And then you probably have some on the higher end that are like 17, 18, very proficient, very, very skill, right? They could do things like explosive ice skaters and make them look pretty. Like, so then I have like the high skill movements. Like maybe I have 2 of them there. I have 2 in the very low end and then maybe 2 in the middle. And literally I'm separating the class like that in these groups of, and that way too, that they could, like a kid who's 11 doesn't mean that just because he's 11, he or she can't progress to the 17-year-old. If you see that they kick ass on the basic movements, then you move them to the middle movements and now they're kicking ass at that. And now you're on the high skill one.
Are you teaching all the different ages in the same class, Jessica? Or are they like all 11 to 12 and then all 13 to 14?
Yeah, they all come in with their own team. So they're all in their own age group. So like I'll have a group of around 8 to 16, like 12-year-olds. And then my next group would be 8 to 16, like 16-year-olds.
That makes it easier. Yeah. That makes like the kind of the original advice I gave, which is just getting
I'll give you an example of what this would look like, Jessica. So I'll tell you the way that most people would do it, which is wrong, and then the way I think would be the right way. So let's just imagine I have the 10 kids in front of me and I say, okay, everybody, you're going to grab your dumbbells. So we all pick a weight that's appropriate. I want you to hold them straight up above your head as tall as you can. And then I want you to march in place, right? So you're going to lift one knee up, bring it down, lift the other, and everyone's going to march in place. Now, most coaches would be like, keep going until you can't do it anymore. So then the kid decides when they need to drop them. And it just becomes a test of will and a test of just beat yourself up. The better way to do it is everybody do these perfectly. I'm going to walk around. And when I tap you on the shoulder, that means you need to take a break. And then I'll let you take a break and then you can try again. And what you're doing is you're walking around looking for breaks in perfect form. And when you see perfect form break, you tell the kid to take a break. And the kids that continue to have perfect form can keep going. It's not about going until you can't move anymore. It's about going until your form starts to break down. And for some kids, it's going to start real quick. And that's how. And so what you're doing is you're perfecting stability and technique, not just trying to beat them up.
Okay, yeah, I have an idea. See what you guys like, if you agree with this or not. But in MAPS 15, we have a very limited amount of so the advanced works more on the compound lifts, right? And so it's basics 2 to 3, let's say. But we could hyper focus on those very specific lifts. Or if the younger age kids, we could do the other version, which actually uses the suspension trainer. And so that way you kind of have 2 options there. So you have the younger kind of kids that don't really have a lot of control and body control and strength stability versus the other kids. So I think it's there in terms of like what we've already created to kind of parse out and create something for them so they all get benefit.
Yeah, it's really, Jessica, it's going to be less about, although this is important, it's still less about the exercises you pick. They are important, so I'm not saying they're not important, but it's less about that and more about how you're applying and how you're viewing the sessions. Is it a workout or am I teaching them a skill? Do you know where you probably could find videos where you'll learn a lot from? Watch really good martial arts instructors with large groups of kids. And this is what they do. They'll have everybody in uniform. What I mean by uniform, everybody at the same time. So it's like, everybody's like, all right, everybody position 1. And then they get in position 1. And the coach walks around and tweaks their technique a little bit. And everybody's waiting and they go around, okay, everybody ready? Position 2. Then they walk around because the martial arts coach isn't trying to work them out. He's trying to get them to perfect the technique. So the exercises, although that's important, that's less important than what I'm saying is when you have your class doing something, that's how you should treat it. Not like I'm trying to make them all work out, but I'm trying to get everybody to move perfectly.
So think about that, like to the exact point. I love that point. I got a group of 8 kids, and I'm going to do a reverse lunge to a balance to a press or something, like a movement like that.
There's 3 parts to it.
Yeah, there's 3 parts. And so I'm going to, everybody reverse lunge. And then I'm going to walk around, and you're guaranteed, you're going to have some kids that are slouched over. You have other kids who are going to be leaning to one side.
Or the foot's too close.
Right. Or their front foot is turned in all weird, or their back foot is like way off to the side or way behind the other. And so you walk around and kind of move them in perfect posture.
Yep. Okay, now everybody, hand up.
Up to your balance, right? Then everybody steps up to the balance. And then you have some kids that are falling or wobbly, go over, fix their posture, get them standing up straight, get them holding the dumbbell right to their shoulder.
You can do that with any exercise. You can do it with a deadlift. Okay, everybody grab the bar. And then you walk around. down, fix everybody's form. All right, everybody engage your lats. Everybody engages the lats. All right, everybody stand up. Everybody stands up. Watch their technique. All right, everybody bring it down. And you just break the movements down and you're teaching the techniques. They'll get way more out of that than if you're just trying to make them sweat and get tired.
If you can teach every one of these kids in all these classes to do a complex movement like a deadlift or a squat, and that's all they ever get from you, you will do more for them in their sport than the best
at that age, yes.
the best athletic exercise program that's on the internet or another coach could do.
Totally.
Like that's the level that they're all at, the difficulty of the skill of these movements. And that's, I think this is the mistake that high school and young coaches make as they try and treat them like they're professional athletes and like all these different movements that are, this is going to work on their rotational strength. This is going to be their explosiveness. This is going to be, and they're doing all this shit. And it's like the kid can't even do a proper squat. It's like if you can just get them to do that, the carryover into their sports and all of their pursuits is far greater than the most complex the workout program. So think like that as a coach. Like you will accomplish a ton if you can get that whole classroom to do a beautiful squat and do it together. Like that's massive.
Yep. I hope that helps you. Does that give you a little bit of kind of direction? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I also would doing like the mobility drills as well.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Before or after?
Yes, yeah.
Well, that could be the class.
That's exactly the class.
That could be the workout. Literally, you're doing a mobility movement and you're breaking them down into 5 steps, and you're getting them to go through each step, and you're walking through and correcting technique, and then step 2, and then you're walking through and correcting technique, and then step 3. And eventually, what'll happen, Jessica, is with these classes, you're gonna have to you'll be able to go step 1, step 2. Step 3, step 4, go, and then everyone's gonna move through it perfectly.
In fact, do you have Prime Pro yet or no?
No, please don't yell at me.
No, it's okay. You're not. I wouldn't put you in that. I'm gonna send. Listen. I'm gonna have Doug send you Prime Pro, and then I feel like we're really getting somewhere here. This would be an awesome class.
Yes.
You take them through 3 to 5 of these Prime Pro movements.
You're done.
And do them really effective. And if you do any more, you do one exercise. It's like we literally going to do Prime Pro. We're going to do some 90-90s. We're going to do some hand coupled rotations.
You learn one compound lift.
And then you do
and
one
deadlift.
and then it's like all the classes centered around is breaking down the deadlift in the 3 different positions or the squat. And that's like what you teach. Like that. Because those Prime Pro movements, especially if you watch the videos on how we coach it and teach it, you're going to get these kids better connected. They're going to get better connected to all these muscles that you're asking them to go call upon. And then you go teach one movement and until they get that one movement perfect. That's all the focus of the classes. That's a great class.
Okay. Yeah.
So Doug's
I'm definitely that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll send that to you. And then let's let you in the forum too. If you get permission from the parents, I'd love to see the class and see how you teach it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
All right. All right. And then we could give advice or whatever.
Yeah, Doug will send over Prime Pro, and then I'd love to hear back.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay. That'd be super awesome. Thank you, guys.
You got it. Look, everybody, it's okay.
This is such a frustrating topic for me.
This is
because we don't have anything very specific to point to like this, and so we're like just throwing a million philosophical ideas at her.
Well,
it is like there's a simple way to do it, and I think we got to somewhere with the Prime Pro, and I think that everybody can benefit from that, and that's really what the end result needs to be. There's a lot of like teaching techniques that it's going to go into this for kids, but you have to slow down. You have to keep it simple. You have to keep it like one exercise, and that's not what all these coaches want to hear because they want to teach them all of these like complex, like athletics is complex as fuck.
For whatever reason, okay. People they don't realize that working out or exercises are techniques. You would never see a baseball coach. Maybe you do see some crappy coaches, but everybody would know how crappy this coach would be. You're trying to teach a kid how to pitch, and so this is what you tell them: throw the ball as fast as you can, as many times as you can until you're tired. And everybody watching me like, what are you doing? You're not teaching him how to throw the ball properly. You're just making him get his arm tired. For some reason, we don't treat exercise that way. We put these kids in this class, and it's like, let's just get them all tired. That's not what they're going to benefit from. That's why I pointed to martial arts. If you watch a good instructor teach a bunch of 8-year-olds in Taekwondo, what they'll literally do is they'll have them stand up, and they'll break every move down into 5 parts. Lift your knee. Everybody lifts a knee. Bring your leg out. Bring your leg. And they all have to hold the position. Before you ever throw 1,000 of these kicks to fatigue, you got to be able to perfect the technique. And if you don't understand the technique of these exercises like deadlift, squats, presses, whatever, you're wasting your time. If anything, you'll increase the odds of injury.
Do you guys remember last year when my brother-in-law was bringing his nephew in here and he's trying to train for football, right? And he wanted me to give him all these different exercises, right? So I gave him some things that helped him out. I really didn't get the chance to like spend very much time with him. Well, we were all up in Truckee this side. So this is fast forward a year later, right? And we got to work out together. And all we did in the workout was I broke down his deadlift, the way he walked up to the bar, the way he got everything tight, the way he got the slack out of the bar. That's all we focused for the entire hour. This has been now what we went up there in Thanksgiving, so it's been about a month, right? Yeah. He's literally texting me every single week a PR in squat and deadlift. Yeah. Every single week.
You could have taken him through 15 exercises.
I did. I taught him all these different things last year that he tried to imply, that he's been trying to mess with it. And then all we did this last time, because I was there with him for multiple days, was technique on this thing and just perfecting every little nuance of it. Since then, he's been texting me every workout.
Isn't that funny?
Uncle, I just hit a PR here. Uncle, I just hit a PR. And I'm like, dude, see, that's just it right there. It's not 100%. About all this other shit that you want to do, that everybody wants you to do. It's like, get proficient at that.
It's the difference between a cardio kickboxing class and learning how to actually kickbox. That's a big difference. Look, if you're a coach or trainer, go to mindpumptrainer.com, sign up for the free 3-day seminar I will be conducting live here at Mind Pump. It's all virtual. Mindpumptrainer.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Justin is at MindPumpJustin. I'm at MindPumpDeStefano. Adam is at MindPumpAdam.